We just read from wherever we left off, and that's the methodology. Page 330 from Henry David Thoreau. Whenever he saw something rare or interesting, he called Sophia. That's his sister. And he thought of his family whenever he found an especially beautiful flower, bringing it home in the sewn-in compartment of his special botany hat. Do you have a hat where you collect flowers at all? Why wouldn't you have one? You could collect flowers with a hat. How fitting to have every day in a vase of water on your table the wild flowers of the season. Did I ever bring you wild flowers? Which are just blossoming. Can any house said to be furnished without them? When water lilies will in bloom, Henry brought them home in armfuls to brighten and scent the house. The cook gamely baked his service berries into a pudding. Rather dry was the family's verdict, and he brought asters home by the pail so Sophia could sort the species by their beauty. Years later, a family friend recalled the home's undisturbed orderliness, the restful sitting room where the sun lay all day, illuminating Sophia's glorious window plants, which she could always conjure into exuberant bloom. There were evenings of reading aloud, playing the piano, singing together, games of chess and backgammon. Do we play chess and backgammon? Phew. I thought we had chess pieces for the park. Tea parties, distinguished guests, and lyceum lectures on cold winter nights, followed by hours of talk, regular, steady drumbeat of social interaction that supported Henry's explorations in nature and literature. So that's what you did.
That's like a very lively house.
Dear, when you don't have internet and TV, you read aloud, you play the piano, sing together, play chess and backgammon. We have tea parties all the time. Are we drinking tea?
Yeah, the two of us.
Do we read aloud?
Yes.
We must, or there wouldn't be this tape. We're reading aloud, and I also play the piano, and I sing when I play the piano. And I have these chess pieces I play in the park, which has the boards imprinted on the table. But where's our backgammon set? I like backgammon. We have tea parties. But where's our distinguished guest? Where are they? We have nobody. Nobody likes us. That's why we're so lonesome. Sometimes he revealed snatches of that talk. He revealed snatches of that talk one Sunday after refusing to read a certain religious tome. It's a strange word, T-O-M-E. He heard Aunt Maria. Remember Aunt Maria? Aunt Maria shout from the wall to Aunt Jane, quote, "Think of it, he stood half an hour today to hear the frogs croak." Oh, God. You complain about me going out too long, right? I was listening to the frogs croak, and he wouldn't read the life of Chalmers. One night after talking with Uncle Charles about who among the nation's worthies was such true genius, the door opened long after they'd gone to bed, and Uncle Charles called out in an earnest stentorian, What are these words? Stentorian voice, loud enough to wake the whole house. Henry, was John Quincy Adams a genius? No, I think not, was my reply. Well, I didn't think he was, answered Charles. The question of genius was on Henry's mind. Was it something one had? Men commonly talk as if genius were something proper to an individual. I esteem it but a common privilege, and if one does not enjoy it now, he may congratulate his neighbor that he does. No one doesn't possess No, one didn't possess genius, but if you lived right, genius might possess you. It's all a matter of style. Remember how you're supposed to acquire inspiration or a muse? They actually, in the satsang, they said it's by humility and perseverance that you can contact the muses and acquire inspiration. But if you lived right, genius might possess you. Interesting. Under the surface of Thoreau's placid home life was a mind on fire. The quieter his days, the more extravagant his pages. The key to creativity, thought, was to keep writing and not judge or edit too soon. You must try 1,000 themes before you find the right one, as nature makes 1,000 acorns to get one oak. And stay close to the earth, away from books. But he does read a lot of books. Antonius, like, be not long absent from the ground, unquote. So sentences would be, quote, like so many little resiliences from the spring floor of our life, unquote. In January 1852, Thoreau dusted off the manuscript of Walden and reimagined the book he wanted to write. Outside his window he saw farmers carting peat and muck over the frozen meadows to fertilize the soil. What's so funny? Peat and muck?
I don't know what it is exactly.
Peat and muck? Peat is like a dark muck. It's like fertile soil.
On the guys, they used to do that.
No.
They didn't work for guys.
They cart it over the frozen meadows to fertilize the soil. Maybe they're working in the winter. They're putting fertilizer down.
But what size? He said that was
Frozen meadows.
oh, okay. So it was like it's
Well, it's easier to cart muck and peat around from a frozen meadow than from a peat muck could be from like a swamp. So if a swamp is wet and it has quicksand, how do you cart around peat and muck on a wet lake? So frozen meadow is easier to cart on. Didn't scholars do the same? Muck out in winter the fertile soil thrown up in summer. My barnyard is my journal, he joked, and decayed literature makes the best soil. He likes rotten literature, decayed old books. So if you can get some old books, makes good soil for writing. This is not an old book, though. This book is fairly new. This book is published. This is 2017. We're reading from a 2017 book, so it's not decayed. Once he had dreamed of buying a farm, and despite his condescension to farmers in Walden, he always kept a kinship with them. They lived on the land. He too should, quote, live in each season as it passes, breathe the air, drink the drink, taste the fruit, give himself to it wholly. Walden must live in season. It must be an agrarian book close to the earth. Did you grow up on a farm? Did I grow up on a farm? What? To write it, he would dig deep into the muck. It is rare that we use our thinking faculty as resolutely as an Irishman his spade, unquote. Walden Thoreau, the Walden Thoreau, had put away in 1849 was a spring and summer book, recalling the bright days when he built his house and set off to find reality beneath the shams and illusions of society. Wow. Did you hear that? It's a powerful sentence. I'll read it again. The Walden Thoreau I put away in 1849 was a spring and summer book recalling the bright days when he built his house and set off to find reality beneath the shams and illusions of society. But starting in 1852, Walden encompassed fall and winter as well, recalling the closing of the house against the winter cold and the visitors, both human and animal, who brought society in dark days. The great cycle of seasons seemed to be not merely weather, but the deep metaphysical framework for a spiritual life. Would you see your mind look at the sky? Would you know your own moods be weather-wise? Unquote. This new Walden would be about watching through the long night to announce the break of day, bragging like a chanticleer at the dawn. Politics and war had drawn Thoreau deep into the newspapers, but now he set them aside. Quote, you cannot serve two masters. It requires more than a day's devotion to know and to possess the wealth of a day. So he wrote instead the story of another war between, quote, the red Republicans and the black despots or imperialists, quote, unquote, at Walden, mortal enemies engaged in deadly combat, reaching beyond the headlines to the wider world, quote, of thought and of the soul, unquote. Thus was born the Ant War, Thoreau's famous mock heroic parable. Afterward he paused. Why had he left Walden anyways? ? Why did he feel compelled now to return, if only in his imagination? ? Perhaps, quote, the contemplation of the unfinished picture may suggest its harmonious completion. Unquote. It was time at last to, quote, make wholes of parts. Unquote. End of section. Page 332. Oh, it's good to read about Walden. You can listen to Walden on LibriVox, or YouTube, or Audible Books, or read the book, or get it from Internet Archive, or get it from the library, or get it from your own memory.
You should be reading his journals.
Journals. You could read his journals, all of them, but it might take your whole life to read them. But you could read them in accompaniment with your life. How are you going to read all his journals? Well, how do we read the other books? Just do it.